What's going on, guys? This is George from StreetCulture.US, and it's 9 o'clock at night. 370Z is complete. Yep, we did the axles. I torqued everything to the inside bolts that go to the pumpkin. I did that at 59 pounds of torque. And then for the axle, main axle nuts on the outside there for the hubs, those we would torque to about 125 pounds on each side. Anyway, also did the grease and all that stuff. So yeah, I have the bolts and everything still left over from the Z1 Motorsports. This is the axle pack or the finishing pack. So you have an extra, I'm gonna hold these for, you have an extra washer here and the extra bolt, but I'm gonna hold on to these until I get two more ordered from Nissan, one for each side, because these come from, these ones here come from Kawasaki, and these are actually shorter. You can see there's quite a bit of difference. So you need 3 of these to raise it up, and then you can put the cotter pin in there and you don't have to deal with all the clicking that you hear from these 370Zs. It's really quite common around 100,000 miles, 80 to 100,000 miles. You start noticing some clicking on the hubs and whatnot on each side when you go into forward and reverse. And that's just, there's really nothing wrong with the car other than, you know, there's just a little bit of play in there with the these little cover nuts here and a little bit of flexing here. So it's not going to go anywhere. The axles are still synced up very well to the hub. The splines aren't going to have any play in them, but this just clicks a little bit. And when you get the Kawasaki ones, these are actually made by Kawasaki. They're not made by Nissan or Nissan, depending on where you're at. But anyway, you need the 3 washers behind here to kind of push these out towards the end so you can line up the cotter pins, and then it'll stop that because you don't have to worry about having these little cover nuts or these cover shields here. And then you won't have any of the clicking. Plus it keeps everything nice and snug. Found out that the exhaust, the main gasket that goes all the way back, it's a 3-inch exhaust all the way back. The main gasket, it was flexed and worn away because when I had the car serviced under warranty a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, we had the whole differential replaced. Well, they took off the exhaust, and I've been hearing a little bit of like a creak when I get on the throttle and I get off the throttle, and I wasn't sure what it was. Well, I got under there today, guys, and I'll tell you what it was. It was this. So this is one of the bolts. There's one on each side of the exhaust up under the middle there, and it is not the bolts I use. When I put on the Stillen exhaust, I use these bolts from O'Reilly's, and they come right here, there you go, from Dorman. Okay, these are the Dorman flanged ones, and these are your standard M10 by 1.5 hex nuts and bolts. Okay, and these are the bolts I use for everything. I have them under the hood, I have them on the back there. They're really good for you know, replacing the standard ones because they're rated at 10.9, and they just look a whole lot nicer when you replace them. So anyway, yeah, these are the bolts I use. However, these are not the bolts I use, and this is what I'm talking about, and I mentioned it in the earlier videos with broken bolts, nuts, things that aren't replaced properly by the technicians. And then this is another thing, just to add to the list. They take your bolts off, guys, and they lose them, or they don't feel like, they're just lazy. I hate technicians. I kind of get irritated with technicians because of this very reason and a few others. But yeah, this is not mine, and it just irritates me. Same thing goes for under here. Whenever you have an oil change and you have that cover that protects the engine from debris as well as wind, it's more aerodynamic, it's sealed up. A lot of those bolts in there, I've found sheet metal screws, drywall bolts, or drywall screws. And those are the ones where they're real big and you shove them into the drywall and it bites in the drywall and it gives you somewhere to screw in. I just don't get it. I don't understand why they don't do this. And then I asked them about it. Oh no, it was like that. Well, no, it wasn't, because I'm always under there cleaning, putting things back. I've bought several packets of new bolts for the front to put that pan back under there. And I have another set on order right now, and I'll probably pick those up on Monday from Nissan. But anyway, it's just a common occurrence, and it just irritates me. So too many technicians, not enough mechanics. I'm tired of bitching about it. Sorry guys, but it just irks me because I like to keep my cars quality. You know, I don't like junk. I will replace something. The other thing is they break bolts on here because they don't want to heat them up, or they don't want to do things properly, or they just don't have the patience. And they'll break a bolt off, or they'll break a head off, and they don't tell me about it. Tell the owner. I would much rather have somebody come up and say, hey, we broke a bolt. Would you like us to replace it? If so, it's going to be $2.98. Okay, replace it. Same thing with under here. If there's stuff missing, let me know. If you lose it, I really don't care. I just want the car right. I would rather have, and I've always told, when I was in the Army, I told my soldiers this, I would rather be told the truth and deal with it than find out later down the road and then hear all the BS lies and all the other stuff. So enough of that, guys. But she's bolted back up. Everything's ready to go. I'm not going to test drive it. As you can see, it's really dark. And tonight, they're blowing off fireworks and all that other jazz. I don't think you can hear it in the background, but if you can, yeah, I don't want any on the debris on the car. So I'm just going to clean up in here, clean up the garage, put things back together. And then I'll probably spin the car around, park it, and then I'll just test drive it in the morning. So, but everything's done. And the NVA axles were very easy to go in. Once you take down that V brace and you take down the full exhaust from the center section back, piece of cake, everything comes in and out. You really only need like, let's see, 12, 13, 14 millimeter, a couple of 15s, and then just a 14 for the inner differential mount positions. And then you need a 32 on here, which I have right here. So you need a 32 for that. And it just, you know, and the funny thing about these Kawasaki's is they're much bigger than the standard ones. So this is a 32 and you can't even fit this. I think this might be a 34. Oh, that was a big firecracker anyway, or firework. So I think these might be 34. They are much heavier, and they seem to be, let's see if we can do a side-by-side comparison. You can see they're much meatier than the other ones, and they fit nicely inside there and whatnot, but it is a bigger, it's definitely a bigger nut, and yeah, just a little shallower. It's a little more shallow this way, but it's definitely bigger overall. And once the cotter pin's in there, this bad boy ain't going anywhere. So yeah, but we're all buttoned up. I hope you guys like these videos. I like to show these videos because, you know, people need to know how to do things. There's not a lot. I've looked up torque specs and whatnot on these cars, and there's not a lot out there. It's slowly becoming more common. They're bringing more videos on YouTube, so other YouTubers out there and stuff like that. On Instagrams, they're posting some things up. That's great. 350s all day long. People do 350Zs all day long. They're super cheap. I think these are still in the $25,000 to $30,000 realm if you find a nice used one. But honestly, you're not going to find something like this for 20 grand because it's just, you know, there's all kinds of different upgrades. Carbon fiber steering wheel by Carbontastic, the GTR ignition and the Nismo. I mean, you're not going to find something this clean. A lot of times you'll find one that will still have all the OEM interior and whatnot. Also, it's harder to find the ones with the Sport Tech package and the Touring package all in the same car because people just hold on to them. These are phenomenal cars, bang for the buck. If you can score one of these, I say do it all day long. Corvettes, C5, C6, yeah, okay, they have more horsepower and all that stuff. But the thing is there's more of a prestige with these cars. And the reason I say that is they're exotic because they're not made in America. They're Really nice body lines and the flares. I mean, look at it. I mean, this paint is 11 years old and it still looks really good. It has a lot of, I guess you could say, style to it with the shoulder boards on the back. It's really wide on the back, and it just has that, it's kind of hard to see in the dark, but it just has a really nice look about it. I always joke and call her my baby Bugatti because she's just very similar in body, but of course, big differences. But bang for the buck, you can't go wrong with these cars. The engines, the VQ engines are phenomenal. They're bulletproof, and the internals on these are just phenomenal. The transmissions on these, again, bulletproof. You would have to like run 1,500 horsepower to break these things. And they're just a lot of fun, and they're a quality built car. I mean, crikey. I've had this car for 11 years. It just turned over 100,000 miles. I've been on all kinds of road rallies, through the tail of the dragon, through the mountains, cross country a few times, donuts in the streets, burnouts, drags, and here we are finally just servicing it a little bit, and the car held up magnificently this last 11 years. And I'll tell you what, she's given other cars a run for her money that are double and triple the price, especially on the expressways through the rallies, and just outperforms. Nissan did a hell of a job with this car. I mean, I'm really impressed. I've had a lot of cars over the years. This is probably one of the most enjoyable I've had. I've heard that Porsches are pretty enjoyable as well. But I'll tell you what, you're going to spend 100 grand on a Porsche. You can buy these brand new for 50, 60 grand. And although there's a big difference, they're still great performers. So, but bang for the buck, you can't go wrong. And the styling speaks for itself. So I'm going to wrap it up here. It's getting late, and yeah, mosquitoes are starting to come out. But yeah, hope you guys like the videos. Please share StreetCulture.US, StreetCulture.US with your friends. Please tell them about the YouTube channel. Please tell them about the Instagram, and I'll do my best to post more videos. It's kind of hard when you're working and all that other jazz, and you have so much going on. But yeah, this is not my full-time job. I do the best I can, and I do it for other people out there who have 370Zs or maybe younger folks who are on their way to becoming automotive enthusiasts. This is why I do it. So don't be afraid to reach out or DM me and ask questions. I had a young man ask me a question about the Z1 Motorsports differential bushing kit and installing that on the rear subframe assembly, and I responded to him this morning. I may not get to it right away, but I will do my best to get to it when I can. And yeah, so that being said, I hope you like these videos, and please share us. Again, this is George for StreetCulture.US, and I'll see you on the road.